Hello and welcome back to the Cameron and Tia Show. Today I'm coming at you with a solo episode and it's a part 2, y'all. It is our part 2 to our pricing episode. So if you haven't viewed our part 1 yet, go ahead, click the card up there and you can view part 1. Part 1 is basically breaking down what we do for pricing, and now part 2 is me telling you what you should do for pricing. Let's jump right into this.
Hi, I'm Cameron.
And I'm Tia.
We're so excited that you're here.
Let's jump right into the video. Okay, my first piece of advice is to do some market research. A lot of people will tell you to stay in your own lane, put on blinders, and forget about the rest of the market. I disagree. Many corporations do market research, and this is just a great place for you to get some bearings on what's happening around you, what that generally looks like. So what I mean by this is look up all kinds of photographers in your area. Area specific is going to be best because even in the US, there are so many different price points and weddings look really drastically different. Even just budgets of couples' weddings look different. So that's going to mean that they're going to spend differently for their photographer. So pull up all the tabs. I'm a 100 tab girl where I got everything pulled up, and look at different photographers. Try to do some research of how long they've been in business. Try to figure out kind of what level they are at. How does their work look? How many weddings do they typically take? Because that's going to really vary if they only take 13 weddings a year versus 35 weddings a year. Obviously, this doesn't pertain exactly to you. We don't know if they live on a second income, if their spouse makes money, if they are just doing this as a side hobby, if they also do something full time. So this is not going to determine our pricing. This is just going to get us a starting place so that we generally know where the market falls. I would say after doing really extensive market research, and I'm saying put it in a spreadsheet, categorize it kind of by tiers so that you can really see naturally where you would fall, both based on your skill, based on your experience, and based on what is your goal. Is your goal to make this full-time? Is your goal to just have this as a part-time hobby while you're working your full-time marketing gig? You're going to generally see where you fall. So that's the first step, is evaluating the market. Step number 2, figure out your cost of doing business. You're going to be able to Google and find all the resources, all the spreadsheets, and all the worksheets about figuring out your cost of doing business. But the general gist is you need to figure out how much it takes you to do business. How much does your gear cost? How much are you putting into each wedding? How much time does it take you to edit, communicate, show up at a wedding, edit afterwards, and then deliver? Editing first was editing the engagement session. So what's the time involved in that? What are your other costs, like insurance, or things like your subscriptions to a gallery service, your subscriptions to Honeybook, things like that. Figure that all out, and then you'll be able to divide by the amount of weddings you take. So say 30, and that's going to be your cost of doing business for weddings only. Of course, if you have other types of sessions, so like seniors, families, you want to break those down as well so that you can find an accurate cost of doing business. Then price yourself to be profitable. So obviously you're going to be profitable over that cost of doing business. You're just then going to have to figure out how much over that line, how much over that threshold are you going to charge to make this worthwhile for you. We then sit down and set, okay, if we're charging this much for weddings and we want to only take 25 weddings this year, plus if we're charging this much for seniors and we're going to take 60 seniors this year, what would that total income number be for the entire year? Of course, with Cameron and I, we're splitting that in two. We're saying if we make $150,000 a year, that's a $75,000 income for me and a $75,000 income for Cam. So then after figuring out your cost of doing business, figure out where you're going to be profitable, then figure out what that actually looks like in a year. And if that's not where you want it to be, then you need to raise that income. Of course, after you figure out cost of doing business, you can then budget out your entire life, your rent, your mortgage, your literally everything, your car payment, your car insurance, and figure out if that is good enough for you to hit that. We literally budget everything, including like hanging out with friends, going out for drinks, going bowling, so that then we can really see we are making enough to live the lifestyle that we want to live. The next thing is, once you set your pricing, have confidence in that pricing. Don't waver. Say, this is my pricing. This is what I'm worth, because I literally did all this work by evaluating the market and figuring out my cost of doing business, that now I know my worth and I know that I'm at a good place. When people reach out about discounts, don't give them to them, because you figured this out and you feel solid and confident in this. So that's my biggest tip. Have confidence in the pricing that you set because you did the work. Now let's go down this road. You've set your pricing. You're nailing it. You're loving it. You're super confident. Yes, girl. But Here are two things that you should take into account. If these are happening, you need to raise your pricing. The first is that you are getting tons and tons of inquiries, and all of those inquiries are A, booking, B, booking quickly. This means that you are too affordable. It means that people see your value as higher than this, whereas normally if your pricing was a little bit higher or maybe a lot bit higher, people would really have to consider their investment, or they would figure out that that investment was not a good fit for them. So if you're booking all the inquiries that are coming through, or you're booking most of the inquiries and they're booking very quickly, that means that they're not having to weigh their decision enough. You want to then raise your pricing a little bit. Of course, raising pricing is always a guessing game. It's always, is there enough demand for what I'm supplying? And you have to kind of figure that out, but that's the first indicator. The second indicator is if clients are coming and they're loving their experience with you, and at the end of the session, they're saying, oh my gosh, you're so affordable, or wow, it was so easy for us to book, or girl, raise your pricing. That means obviously that you need to raise your pricing. If they're saying that it's affordable, if they're flat out saying it was easy for us to book, we can't wait for our next family session next month, that means that the demand is great, and you need to raise pricing so that the supply is a little bit less. We always want demand to be high, but we don't want it to be too crazy high. And in both of these situations, it's too crazy high. There's too much going on. A general rule of thumb for us is that we want to be kind of repelling some clients with our pricing. We can't take on all the client inquiries that we get, so we raise our pricing a bit so that then just the inquiries that are kind of coming through that net are a great fit for us. I hope this video was a great starting place for you to figure out what your wedding pricing should be. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Otherwise, if you haven't yet, jump back to our part 1 video and you can learn about our wedding pricing and how we have it structured. Again, until next time, bye!